starting with the clean sound. Here's what it sounds like. It's just a clean. Right now, it's just a clean with a phaser and a delay on it. So. Alright, so that's it. And to get that, it's a very simple layout I've got here. We're just going to go down. Here's my amp. Go to our simple settings. First, go to your amp type is the brown face amp. There's no editing to that or anything. Drive is not that high up, below, a little around 11 o'clock, 11:30, because, if you, strike the guitar hard, you don't want to have a lot of breakup, or you don't really want to have any breakup. It's a very clean kind of sound I'm going for. Bass, not all that high either. I usually get a lot of that low range sounds out of the warmth and thump settings in the advanced, and I'll get to that. Mids are scooped out. Treble I have up somewhat high, and I have the bright switch on just because I like it to be a really crisp sound. Now if we go to our page 2, my presence is up quite a bit, not too far, somewhere around I'd say it's like 1:30, 2 o'clock. Depth and damp, sag not using. Master up a bit, level up as well. Now these settings I haven't messed with too far. Once I go down beyond this part, I haven't even messed with the settings. I just kind of threw it all together. So your warmth is a little over 5. Thump is about a little under 4. Low cut frequency I have real low, and the high cut is pretty high actually. But that's just what I do to get that really crisp sound. I like to be very clean. Alright, so that's that. That's the amp part. Now my phaser, I have a couple effects in this chain, but these two are bypassed right now. My flange and chorus, I just have them in there just so if I want to turn them on the ground control I can. Phaser, I have it. It's a 10 stage phaser. Rate, not high at all. Depth, 693. Resonance is 75. There's my frequency. Tempo is none. Mix, 49%. Level is at 0. Balance is right in the middle. Mix is bypass, yeah. And I haven't even messed with any of this stuff yet, so it's pretty much your call on that. So now back to the layout. Like I said, flange and my chorus are not engaged right now, so all I have in this is delay. The reverb is bypass. It's just delay and phaser. Stereo delay, I've got it at 500 milliseconds. Ratio is 93. Spread 100. Master feedback 100. Feedback left is 9.8. Feedback right is 11.4. But I usually keep them about the same. So I'll just. Alright. Now my heavy setting. There's not a lot to this at all. This is as simple as you can get, really. It's a real. All I'm trying to go for is a really ballsy sound, but if you're playing big open chords, you get a lot of definition to the sound. So. Nothing too crazy here. So we'll go to my layout. all you see is all there is. There's literally the amp setting, or the amp simulation, and a graphic EQ. There's nothing else in this loop. There's nothing else. That's all there is. So we'll start at the amp. The amp I've tweaked quite a bit. So we'll go to the beginning. The type is the energy ball, which is the angle power ball. I used to play Mesa Boogie amps. Before I owned an Axe-Fx, I had a Mark V, so I tried out the Mark II C Pluses and the Mark IV amps in the Axe-Fx, but they really didn't give me what I was looking for. So I experimented a bit, and this is really what got the best sound out of. So I have the boost on. Drive is up pretty high, 7.32. Now what I found out with this amp was that if you run the bass fairly, pretty high, you actually get a real good fullness out of this. Because there are other amps like the Mesa simulations that if you have this much bass in it, it's just, you're not gonna have any sound. Basically, it's just gonna sound all woofy. But the Angle amp really takes advantage of all the bass. So I experiment with it, but I found that around 3 o'clock is pretty much your a solid point. Mids I have up quite a bit, 3.21. Pretty good sound out of that. Treble kind of high, not too high, but I have the bright switch on that, so that gives me a bit of a little edge to it. Now my page 2, I actually have the presence down, negative 0.24. It's not, I think it's good around there. I'll post a link to the video where I got most of these settings, because this is actually, for the most part, it's Chris Broderick's settings for his energy ball. I'll put the link in the description. I mess with his settings a bit. His setting has his presence down at like -3, which I thought that was a little too dull, so I bumped it up a bit. I'm not going to have to worry about any of that. Master, 5.67, and my levels up a bit. Now in the advanced settings, my warmth, 5.83, thump, 4.33, low cut is at 109, high cut, 14, 5, bright cap, tone stack, I keep switching between passive and active in the tone stack, but I seem to get a lot more grit out of active, so I usually stay around there. Tone location at the end, that's important. That can really affect your sound. Not really. Honestly, I seem to, I tweak a lot and try to adjust a lot of this stuff, but it really doesn't seem to do much for my sound. Presence depth type, I usually keep it passive, for whatever reason. Then the mix levels at -9.5. Balance right in the middle, bypasses through. So we go back to the layout and go to my graphic EQ, and that's it. It's pretty much, there's not really much to it. I think it just adds a tightness to it. I've got the low end boosted just a tiny bit, because it doesn't really, it's not going to darken up the sound too much. It really just creates a good fullness. So it's not up too high, as you can see. All the middle sliders, they're up just a tad. And I usually keep the ones on the high end pretty low, because I don't want to have too much dryness or shrillness in the sound. Especially if you're hitting a big open chord, you don't want to have a lot of roughness in the sound.